Batman killing discourse in 2024. Man, alright, here we go. Y'all don't know how irritated I was when I opened the You Know What app just to see a bunch of posts arguing about BVS and Batman killing. I genuinely thought we were finally past this for good. Turns out Zack Snyder got on a Joe Rogan podcast recently and reignited the debate all over again though, so I don't see why we can't revisit it one last time. Before we even get to what Snyder said on the podcast and Batman v Superman and all that shit, we gotta get one thing out of the way. Comic Batman does not kill. That's a fact. Whenever people criticize any live-action Batman's murder, somebody always brings up the argument that there's comics where he's killed people, so Batman does kill. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. There's comics where Superman is a communist and comics where he's a fascist. That doesn't mean that's who he is as a character. There's comics where Captain America is Hydra. That doesn't make him a Nazi. There's comics where Batman has killed people and used guns. That doesn't mean that's what the character does. Every time somebody pulls up panels, they're always either out of context or from the golden and silver age back in the 40s and 50s. Be for real. Throughout the entire history of the main and consistent version of modern Batman in the last 40 years or so, it's canon that Batman refuses to kill and doesn't kill. Whether that's right or wrong in your personal opinion is up to you. At the end of the day, though, the fact is that Batman chooses not to kill. Why? There's been a few different reasons over the years, but each of them demonstrate different parts of his character. For one thing, he doesn't want to do to other people what Joe Chill did to him as a child. Even if people are criminals or awful people, there's more often than not still people in their life that care about them. Murdering someone usually leaves at least one person behind, and Bruce already knows how it feels to lose your loved ones early. There's also the fact that killing one person will start a chain reaction. The first murder is the hardest one. It only gets easier from there. Once Batman kills one person and he justifies it to himself, he's going to get put in a situation where he feels like he can justify the next one too. And then the cycle is going to continue until he's a serial killer and he's just murdering everyone he comes across. On top of all that, Bruce also knows that killing the criminals doesn't really solve that much. They'll just be replaced by more thugs and goons created by the shitty city of Gotham. Why murder every criminal you come across instead of attacking the system that creates them, which Batman does, usually from the Bruce Wayne side of him? Batman also believes that anyone can be saved, and even though there's clearly some people that can't be saved like most of his rogues, Batman still has that belief. He's even saved Joker's life when he didn't have to numerous times in the comics, demonstrating his hero complex. Batman will never take anyone's life no matter who they are or what they've done or what they could potentially do in the future. There was one time Joker was on death row and Batman found out Joker didn't commit that specific crime that he was on death row for. This dude, Batman, deadass proved him innocent and they let his ass live despite all the other shit he did. It was low-key dumb as hell. It's an example of how rigid Batman's morals and sense of justice are, and you can definitely point it out as a flaw in his character. I personally don't agree with going as far as getting Joker off death row. He's bugging for that one. A character flaw is still his character though. In the Dark Knight trilogy, Bale allows people to die, which is a different take on the no-kill rule, but still doesn't outright break it. In different versions, it's looser than others, but the constant norm for the last half-century is that Batman doesn't outright kill people. Like I said a minute ago, you don't have to agree with this. What makes Batman a flawed character is the fact that you could easily make the argument that he should kill, but he still doesn't. He's an example of how a strict moral code mixed with a hero complex can actually be a bad thing sometimes. It's what makes Batman so interesting. You have all kinds of heroes that don't care about killing. Captain America, Iron Man, most of the Avengers actually. Batman was one of the first heroes to actually focus on the no-kill rule as one of the core parts of his character and have entire story arcs dedicated to it occasionally. It's also interesting in the comics to watch how he maneuvers through situations without having to kill. It displays his intelligence and his dedication to sticking to his morals. Batman isn't as interesting without that. Now with Batman v Superman, all the discourse comes from the fact that in this movie, Bruce was flashing a chop like prime John Wick, putting up LeBron numbers in the morgue. Everybody was catching hollows. There was that part in the warehouse fight too where he busted somebody's head open. I'm not gonna lie, that shit was actually cool as fuck, but shh. Don't tell nobody I said that. A lot of people had a problem with all the casual murder, which is very understandable, and it was one of the biggest criticisms of Batman in this movie. Snyder got on the Joe Rogan podcast a few days ago and talked about this. Here's one of the things he said.
And they go like, well, don't put him in a situation where he has to kill someone. I'm like, well, that's just like you're protecting your God in a weird way, right? You're making your God irrelevant if he can't be in that situation.
Now, I understand where he's coming from. Obviously, it's an interesting idea to put Batman in a situation where he has to kill. It's led to a lot of good stories before. The problem is that you put him in a situation where he has to kill and then made him kill. Like, okay, where's the interesting stuff? The moral dilemma, the internal struggle, there was none of that. He just filled him with lead and moved on. Batman is interesting because you put him in those rough situations and he still finds a way without killing. If your first thought was to put him in a situation where he has to kill, that's cool, but Why didn't you find a way out in like an interesting way or something, instead of picking the lazy option and just making him kill him without any remorse? Snyder also never actually put Batman in a situation where he really had to kill. Let's be serious. Every time Batman kills somebody in BVS, it's in a situation he's easily gotten out of in literally every medium before without killing. A car chase? Seriously? A car chase is where you make him murder a bunch of people? Even if you use the line about this being an older, more hardened Batman, that just makes it worse because we didn't actually get to see anything that led him to this point. What made him make such a sharp U-turn on the most central part of his character? What were the events? What was his inner turmoil? When was the first time he killed? Nope, he's just old, grumpy, and trigger happy. I also hate to take that it's quote-unquote more realistic for Batman to kill. I find that argument hilarious in a universe where Batman is strong enough to swing Superman through stone pillars and survive on the same battlefield as Superman, Wonder Woman, and Doomsday. It was never about being a realistic take on the character, and either way, it's not unrealistic for a person to stick to their most core principles. Snyder said DC is making Batman irrelevant by enforcing a no-kill rule, and in reality, it's the other way around. Making Batman kill is just making him another Punisher. You're taking away what makes him unique. Of course, there's other heroes like Daredevil and Spider-Man who also have no-kill rules, but the specifics of it are unique to their own situations as well. With Daredevil, it's because of his religion and his belief in the law. With Batman, it's because of what happened in his childhood and his strict moral code. You're taking away some of the appeal of Batman by having him simply kill his way out of tough situations instead of using his smarts, and you're stripping him of one of his core character traits. It's kind of funny because if Snyder wanted to, there was literally countless ways he could have made Batman kill if he really had to do it. I wouldn't have even been that mad at exactly what he did if it was part of some kind of character arc, but it really wasn't. I feel like this was another example of a writer trying to be smarter than the source material, and it just didn't work out. I don't think Snyder's a bad director. I don't care what anybody says. His Justice League movie was solid. However, all that Batman shit was a miss, I won't lie. Don't get me wrong, his movies did a lot of cool shit, but they fucked it up putting the chop in his hands, I won't lie to you. It's not the only problem with BVS, but it's one of the big ones. Me personally, I feel like we're way past this conversation, bruh. It's been damn near a decade. Can we move on? At the same time, though, people are so staunchly on either side that I honestly don't think this argument is ever gonna go away. That's just what I think, though.